admitting my own height.
Your shortcomings?
My shortcomings, exactly. We're used to that in the 4th with Mr. Alford, though. Good evening, guys. Jordan Herrera. I'm going to take up a few minutes of your time to just give you a rundown of who I am, what I've been running for, what I believe in, what I've been doing the last 15 months. And then I want to give you guys plenty of time to ask me questions, because that's what this is all about. Press me on the hard questions. Tonight is about pressing us as candidates. We need to be prepared to run against Mr. Alford, and it's going to be really hard to do in this congressional district. Well, in the state of Missouri in general. Because let's be honest, the last time that we flipped a red seat blue in this state was 34 years ago. I was 5 years old. 1992. That long. You know, you'll hear about all of these problems and woes that Missourians genuinely bona fide hold and have. They're worried about the Chinese buying up property. The first thing as Democrats we have to say is Republicans have been in rule in this state for over 22 years now. If you have a problem with the way things are happening and have been moving, it's time for a change. It's time for a different party that includes at the state level and federal. Now, I believe in something different. I believe in standing up in every corner of this country. It doesn't matter your political affiliation. I care about your morals. I care about the content of your character. And the reason why I can say that today is because I grew up in Nebraska, where it's deeply red. My neighbors were conservatives. Then I joined the United States military when I was 19 years old back in 2006. And I served for the next almost 16 years. Largely a conservative organization, but it's mixed, frankly. Still, this little Democrat from Nebraska made good things work throughout the United States Air Force. I won Non-Commissioned Officer of the Year twice, Airman of the Year, Senior Non-Commissioned Officer of the Year, John Levittow Leadership Award winner from my Non-Commissioned Officers Academy because I was #1 out of 135 non-commissioned officers. I guided Whiteman Air Force Base through COVID pandemic response. I was facilitating help for Johnson and Pettis County through that as well. Where was Mark Alford during COVID? Because I remember he was cautioning people, no, don't get the vaccines. He was telling people go back to work a little bit too fast. He was trying to take money away from the services, not support public health, whereas I was trying to keep people alive. Where was Mark Alford back in 2006 or 2012? Because I was in Iraq and then I was in Afghanistan. Yet today, he's committing your sons and daughters, your grandchildren, to go and serve in a war in Iran over what? Weapons of mass destruction. I fell for that in 2006. I lost a lot of friends over the next 16 years, and I'm still losing them today. I have a friend who's my same age. She's had 2 feet of her colon removed. Another friend who had stomach cancer. I've had stomach cancer, a scare of it. I've seen other times when friends come home from the war and they step off the battlefield, but the battle doesn't end. It's in the mirror. It's on their pillowcase at night. And now we have a president supported by Pete Hegseth and Mark Alford who seeks to take away your VA healthcare benefits and strip dependent care, child-dependent care from their VA veteran, leading to more misdiagnosis, missed cancer screenings, more unhoused veterans. Folks, I'm here today because I grew up with a sense of duty, a call to action. And I don't see that with our current representative. I'm not saying you can't get good work done working with conservatives. I was hired by Andrew Bailey. I like to make that very clear. Me, as a Democrat, in my first case I positively affected trans and HIV policies across the state of Missouri. That's already been done. That's the power of a Democrat who understands the law, knows the law, and doesn't give a damn what side you vote for. I'm willing to work with you to get more people protected. And that's what we have to admit. Moving forward, we need a candidate who can do that. Mark Alford is not that candidate. Look at the results. He's been in office for 2 sessions now, 4 years. What has he done? He's fractured our rural healthcare network. Fitzgibbon has already claimed Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Bothwell, right there in Sedalia, which powers our Whiteman Air Force Base young families, is at risk of closure as well. Not to mention 2 others that I'm aware of in the 4th Congressional, one in Bates and one in Vernon County. And there's going to be more. How do I know? I worked healthcare for 16 years. Now, PTSD diverted my course for me after the Air Force. It cut my career short. I don't hide that. It's something that I used to be ashamed about. But I've learned to take my weaknesses and channel them into my strengths. That's what this campaign is about. To remind you, you can get knocked down and it's okay, because you can always stand back up and move forward. You can always do something greater. I started this campaign 15 months ago. I put over 34,000 miles on my vehicle to get to this point. It wasn't just a couple-hour drive, no offense. I appreciate that. It was 15 months, thousands of conversations, hundreds of handshakes, and so many nights staying up late at night, crying my eyes out, because I live with PTSD still. And so I'm going to say this to you guys, and then I'm going to open it up for questions. A veteran like me knows the cost of what I'm doing today. I've faced death threats. Will Westmoreland was on one of my events, and he faced them too. He had to cancel. I didn't have that luxury. I'm the candidate. I had to show up. I faced discrimination. I've listened to people call me homophobic slurs, things about my race, things about me being a recovering alcoholic. I've been sober for 4.5 years, and people tell me I look young. Thank you. Thank you. I took care of my health. I ran, I worked out, I drank a lot of water, and I quit drinking 4.5 years ago. This is the result. I'm almost 39 though. And look, wisdom isn't attached to your age. Donald Trump is a hell of a lot older than me, and I wouldn't stand here and call him wise. Wisdom is attached to your age, or to your experiences, to the scars you've borne, to the places you've been and the people you've allowed into your life to talk to you and fill you up with their wisdom and knowledge. One of the things I've learned best on this trail is to stop talking and to start listening. So at this time, I want to turn it over to you guys. Hit me with any kind of question you have. And if you don't know what to ask, go to jordanjherrera.com right now, pull up the Issues tab, and you can see all of my position statements where I stand. But who has questions for me? Go ahead, ma'am.
How do we get out of this war?
How do we get out of this war? Great question. So first we have to start with the United States Constitution. And this isn't performative. If anybody wants to check this thing, it is marked up, it is highlighted. I carry my Constitution around all the time. I'm an attorney. Okay, so while I was in the United States Air Force, I was a biomedical engineer. But then I did something else, because I know a lot of people on my live who are Army and Marines. I love you guys, but this airman also got a degree in U.S. military history focusing on battle and strategy. So when I'm going to answer your question, I'm going to speak to it with a little higher degree of knowledge than your everyday person. Number one, I follow this first. This is the very thing I took an oath to. No person, no institution, and no party, not even my own party. I took an oath to this. Article 1 is your voice. Everyone in here. It's the United States Congress. And that's where you're expressed in here. And in Article 1, Section 8, you will find the war powers. In there, it says only the United States Congress has the ability to declare war, grant letters of marque and reprisal, and make rules concerning captures on land and water, to raise and support armies, to provide for the calling forth of militia, to execute the laws of unions, so on and so forth. We return to this. Now, Mr. Alford doesn't give a damn about the checks and balances, otherwise he would be fulfilling his constitutional duties. I'm talking about simple stuff here. Your word is your bond, an oath. He put his hand on the Bible and swore an oath, and he is failing to follow it. Article 2 is the president in here. We have to remind him he comes secondary to the people. The people do not want this war in Iran. I just told y'all. I believe that lie about weapons of mass destruction. So when a president fills your head up with that stuff, you got to push back. Also, let's take a look at the total. We've had 3 F-15 shot at the sky by friendly fire. Concealment of over 150 wounded. Rations reported on Navy ships to be at or below, like far below, nutritional levels. This is clear to me. And also, if you didn't see Pete Hegseth in his most recent interview, he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. He can't even tell you that the munitions that we have right now are at 50% stock depletion, and it will take 4 to 6 years to replenish those. The billions of dollars lost in the first few weeks of this war is insane. How did we go through 22 years of it, or nearly 20 years of it, before, and yet this president has exhausted our munitions in less than a month and a half? Folks, it's one word: proportionality. They don't understand it. These are people who have never participated in war and never took an oath in their damn lives. In fact, Donald Trump, we all know he ran away. He's a dodger. Mark Alford never decided to serve, and in fact, fun fact, in the state of Missouri, it was only Sam Graves who ever served. No one else in our elected positions ever has. Just Sam Graves and in the Guard. So when it comes to Mr. Alford, we have to also push back on him. He's not going to stand up against the Iran war. I will. How do we get out of it? 1, we reinstitute the check and balance. Number 2, we have to speak to it with a higher degree of information. We should not be fighting Israel's war, point blank, period. They may be an ally, but if our allies cannot rise to the same level as us, then they're not our friend. My grandmother taught me that lesson back home in Nebraska. You are who your friends are. I don't make friends with people who commit genocide. And when I see that happen, when my friends do something wrong, I hold them accountable. I certainly don't support them. So that's what I would do immediately. I would stop supporting this war in Iran. I would also curtail support for Israel immediately. What other questions might you have? Thank you.
How would you convince someone, a Republican, to take your side?
That's a really great question. I'm gonna step over here to grab water for this beverage. So, no, that's a really great question. How are we gonna get... Yeah, we do. We have to work together. So here in the state of Missouri, we have almost 1 million people in the state who are unregistered to vote. So I want to tell everyone right now, you're going to see everybody, or me pushing really hard to get out the vote campaign. Please get everyone out there, register, register, register. We cannot expect to win a single state or federal seat until we register people in huge numbers. That's number 1. So number 2, how do we win over those independent, unaffiliated, maybe libertarian voices, or maybe the pissed off Republicans who don't agree with this stuff? I talk to those people often. I call them the McCain Republicans. I'm not interested in MAGA cult members. I'm interested in McCain Republicans still. They exist. There are millions of them out there. We need to talk to them. I can't convince anyone to divorce themselves from an ideology that is so polluted. But what I can do is I can still show them the way. I tell them, sure, you can support Donald Trump, but you can still deserve better results for Missouri. We can all agree on that. I fought for them to have that right to vote for whoever the hell they wanted. That's their American right. And you know, when I talk about it like that, it changes the discussion because I give them permission. I tell them it's okay that you voted for that person. I don't care. That's your choice. That's your right. But if it's something you regret now, well, that's okay too, because hundreds of millions of Americans voted for that man once, twice, sometimes 3 times, and he's the world's greatest con man, right? So if we just allow people an excuse or a permission to leave the cult and not meet them with words of judgment like xenophobe, Nazi, homophobe, or any of those words, and instead we remind them, I care about you because you're an American, I'm an American too, we all rise together or we all fall together. That's a reality. And here's the thing with my campaign. They reach out to me. I have a team, a bass fishing team that has reached out to me, and I'm sponsoring their team tournaments around the state of Missouri. We're going to have a shooting tournament also just outside, I believe, Clinton, Missouri. We were talking to a couple of folks out at a range over there. That's how we do things differently. We remember and know the traditions that make us great in rural America. I grew up in rural America doing things like rendezvous, a mountain man experience. My second job I ever had, I was making lead ball shot for black powder rifle. So for me, it's all about how you identify with the people you're hoping to represent and remind them, I get your traditions, I understand you, and I want to be a part of your community. That's how. What other questions might you have? Yes, ma'am.
How do we get rid or change the electoral college?
Great question. Actually, my roommate and I were just arguing about this the other day. So for me, the electoral college doesn't necessarily serve the purpose it was intended to serve. It seems to really be skewed, right? And let's be honest. The only times it's worked against a party has been against the Democratic Party. And so I think it's time that we re-examine a lot of those institutions, like the Electoral College. And let's be honest, the electoral system, our election system, is already under attack. It's under reform, it's under revision right now. And the people who are revising it, the people who are writing it with the pen, are writing it with red ink. And that red ink is the blood of people who fought to vote. People like John Lewis, people like Martin Luther King, people like suffragettes in the 1920s. That's the ink they're using. They're destroying the Voting Rights Act. You just saw Louisiana versus Calais. Now, I would agree that Citizens United was the most destructive decision the United States Supreme Court has made in the recent era until Louisiana versus Calais. Destroying majority districts means that maps can be redrawn all across the country to eliminate minority voices. This is wrong. So to your point, do we need to look at the Electoral College? Hell yes. If the other side of the aisle is already going to rewrite the rules, let's modernize it and make it make sense for the common person. The Electoral College doesn't make sense for the majority of America. It really doesn't. Now, does it mean that smaller states or agrarian states are going to lose their voice in Congress? I don't believe that. Look at COVID. We saw a huge migration of people moving to the South, and they're rumored to get anywhere about 10 seats after the next census. That's a real problem. We need to look at that. But the Electoral College, though, I think we're past that time. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
How do we get in gerrymandering?
Great question. So Democrats, quite honestly, have tried to end gerrymandering across the nation, and it's Republicans who have stopped it. So unfortunately, gerrymandering is a part of the fabric of our electoral system. Now, for me personally, I don't think gerrymandering should exist. However, human beings are human beings. I think the best way to attack this problem overall is to mandate independent commissions. Independent commissions that are separate and nonpartisan. There are several states who already employ this as a model. That's what I would agree with. That's what I would argue for.
I saw something on Facebook this week where it said Democrats should register as Republicans.
I am going to push back. I heard so if anyone didn't hear, she had mentioned a strategy, which is a good strategy. I've heard a lot of people say this. Democrats to register as Republicans. And I think I'm winding down on time. Minute and a half left. So this will be a really great segue for this. Look, this election is going to take courage. So for those Democrats who might be tempted to put on a mask, a red mask so you can fit in, keep in mind what you're doing. The government just made you afraid to be yourselves. The government just made you afraid to express your political ideology. Maybe it was because the government encouraged people to express violence or words of hate to you in your communities. Don't register as Democrats, don't register as Republicans, register as Democrats. Show your true self, be your true self. Don't do that. That's how people believe the delusion that this is a red state. I stand up here with my own 2 feet, knowing that y'all could ask me anything. I'm not allowed to put on a mask. I don't want to put on a mask, frankly. I've done that before. I served under DADT when it was illegal to be me. What's the difference? That's the same thing. It may not be, a law, but you're telling people to restrict their voice, change names, change party affiliation for what? Safety? That's not the world we should be living in. You should be safe regardless of whatever beliefs you have. And unfortunately, you have a government today that believes differently. So for me, I stand up here today as a proud Missouri Democrat. I get to write the definition of what that means, and so do you. Thank you.
All right, thank you.